better not. I feel like my hair gets so big sometimes that
it's gonna get it.
It looks great, but I hope it doesn't.
It'll be on the blooper reel.
Oh, great.
Welcome to the 805 Life Podcast, where we pull back the curtain on the truths and myths of real estate here in the 805 and beyond. I am Sergio Gonzalez with SG Associates and my co-host Courtney Allen. We are rocking this podcast.
Here.
We are, what episode is this now? 9, 10?
11.
11. Here we go.
What time is it? It's like
we're
only
almost
9:30.
at a dozen.
Yeah.
We almost got a dozen.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so
Look
this
at
has been
us.
cool. All right.
This is so cool.
Let's do this.
What do we got today? What can an agent do to control or manipulate the market?
Okay, so manipulate the market, cheat the market. I like to use the word outperform the market.
Look
right?
at that.
So
Yes.
because manipulate has a bad connotation, right? Like people are like, oh, like that sounds sneaky. That sounds shady, right? I like to say, how am I going to outperform the market? How am I going to outperform other agents? How am I going to outperform what's happening in the trends in the neighborhood, right? By either the list price is not obviously hard to outperform. You throw it up for whatever you want to list it for. At the end of the day, what is it selling for? How are you outperforming the average sales price, the average days on market, and then most importantly, the sales price to list price ratio?
I love that you are saying outperform, especially talking to an actor, because agents, you are acting.
Yes.
Like if you're not a people person, if you don't have the right script or you're just not engaged, you're not going to get it. I love that. I love that word.
Totally. Yeah. So outperform. And there's a few different strategies that I think we've used, in these 5 years that we've been here. And I think early on, it was what I have experienced is that people will often pay more for something that other people do not have access to, right? When you think about, why people pay more for certain things than others, it's because, well, not everybody can have access to it. Not everybody can afford to do it. You're like the 1%er that can, have the luxury of doing those things. So they're oftentimes willing to pay more. So my specialty in making that happen has been selling houses off market, right? So, hey, I'm going to show you something that many others, if no one, has seen yet, right? And it meets exactly what you're looking for. And this is the price, right?
Sneaky.
And so they will typically, and every time that I've done those types of deals, it is always outperformed what's happening in the market, like, double, triple, sometimes quadruple times of what the average price per square foot is. Obviously, sales price to list price is 100%, and there is no days on market. So I'm outperforming on all of those metrics. And that continues. I'm setting the bar every single time with one of those sales, right? And then the rest of the average agents are then trying to reach that milestone to tell their client, oh, well, this property sold at this price per square foot, and so we can chase that. So most of the agents are chasing my performance than me chasing someone else's performance.
Off market. So how are you? I mean, you are allowed to show off market, but like, what does that exactly mean, or how does that work?
There's a couple of factors on why people would want to do an off market. I would say the majority of the people that I do it for is because they want a record price.
Okay.
Right? They're like, hey, I'd sell my house. I don't want to go on the market. And if I were to sell, this is what I would want. And so it's a challenge, right? They're like, hey, make me move, essentially is what they're saying, right? you're going to have to incentivize me to move. And so that's more of my strategy, or why people call me to do those things. For other agents, a lot of times it's, you know, hey, I just don't want to deal with the hassle of getting the house ready. I don't want to deal with the open houses. I don't want to deal with the, you know, a bunch of realtors coming through. I really don't want everybody in my business to know. You know, it's more of like that kind of deal, right? Convenience, disruption, you know, type of situation. But the people that I'm doing it for is like, hey, make me move, right?
It's like the early stages.
Yeah, well, and that's not early stages. It's like, get me a price that will cause me to move.
Oh, literally.
Yeah.
Cool.
If you get me this price, I will move. Otherwise, I don't need to sell. I'm not in a hurry. I'm happy here. But if you got me this price, I'd move. And so that is the challenge, right? And because they know that I have a record of that type of performance, I'm kind of the go-to person to make that happen for them.
Which makes you different from everyone else.
What makes me different than everyone else?
Do you teach your team certain strategies to help?
What do you mean?
Or how, for off market, or there's certain ways that can just help further.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I mean, you got to find those people, right? Okay. So you have to use certain tactics, right? Obviously, one is the phone, social media, emails, letters directly, right? Canvassing the neighborhood door to door. You meet the neighbors at open houses. So, you know, you kind of employ all of them. But if you start performing, people just kind of start recognizing who's doing what. And then what is the message after you sell it, right? So like, what's the message that you're sending to the neighbors after you sold that property? Hey, this house sold, you know, in this current environment, this house sold safely, and for a record price with no open house, no showings, no interruption, no house improvement, no staging, right? And I still got the job done at a record price. Like, then they're like, shit, like, can you do that for me? Like, because I don't like those things either. Right? So you're kind of hitting the pain points of selling a house, getting the house ready, dealing with all that, right? And I still set a record. Like, that's what people, I think, if you can make it easy, simple, and still outperform, that's the home run.
Can you give an example of a recent?
Yeah, you know, neighbor that we sold the house next door to them probably a couple of years ago, just stayed in touch. And we said, hey, you know, for the right price, would you consider selling your home? He said, sure. I said, okay, what's the price? He said 2.4, which was a very high price per square foot based on the condition of their house, because their house was remodeled maybe like 12 years ago. So it's got granite, you know, dark mahogany cabinets. It's not like today's, you know, white modern type of stuff. So it was very pricey for that condition of a home. And we had a client who's looking to downsize, looking for a single story, and didn't want the whole white and gray anyways. Boom. Sold it for record price. Did a 60-day escrow with a 60-day lease back. So that's a total of 4 months these people got to stay in their house while they figured out, you know, where they were going, packing, you know, organizing, doing all of that stuff. They had plenty of time. Yeah. So it was a win-win for everybody.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think that right now it has been more difficult or easy to outperform the market?
Right now it's pretty easy just because the market's on fire. So right now it's like everyone's like celebrating how they sold a home in a day, or, you know, had 15 offers, and, you know, like, that's just it. You didn't make that happen.
Right.
That's just the market that's happening right now. So it's like everybody's a winner right now, right? And if you're not winning, like, you're doing something wrong.
Right.
Like, I don't know what you're doing. So it's, you know, people bragging right now. Where were you bragging, you know, 2 years ago, right? When it was a little bit harder, right? And you actually had to come up with strategy and tactics and, you know, conversion skills. Right now, getting a buyer, hey, you want to buy this house? Sure. This is what I want. This is what I need. This is how you're going to get your offer accepted. And they're going to be like, okay, right? Like a year ago, hey, I need you to waive your appraisal contingency, your loan contingency. You need to get pre-approval before I even show you the house. That was not happening. They'd be like, I'm not doing that. Like, are you one of those shady realtors that's trying to like not look out for me?
Yeah.
Right? Asking me to waive this contingency and that contingency. They'd look at you like you're insane. And now buyers are like, yeah, okay, no problem. Boom, boom, boom. Because that's what's happening.
Do you think you're going to have to change your tactics? Like one day, once, I don't know, other companies will realize like, oh, I should be doing this.
Well, I think that there are some things coming down the pipeline that I think companies are going to have to offer more value proposition. And it's more around, you know, if you're talking specifically for sellers, it's how do you remove those pain points? So perfect example would be like, hey, I want to downsize. I want to sell my house. Let's say they have like, you know, just older furniture, doesn't show well, right? It's, you know, antique kind of stuff. Like, okay, we could move out all of that furniture, or you're going to suggest to them, hey, you should move out all your furniture so we can stage the house. It's going to look better. It's going to show better. It's going to sell faster, right? Because we know that for a fact. But they're like, okay, great. Number one, how much is that going to cost? And number two, where am I going to put all my stuff? And three, who's going to move it? Because let's say they're older, right? So the typical response is you pay for it. And you have to hire movers and you have to pay for storage, right? So a value proposition could be, we have a storage facility. We already have the staging furniture, right? And we have the people to relocate that.
Easy swap.
Easy swaps, right? So again, making it easy, simple, and seamless, I think is key. So you have companies right now that are, hey, we'll buy your house from you, and you can then stay there until you find where you need to go. Right? And they're going to offer you a lower price. It's going to be a little bit more expensive, right, for your convenience fee. And that's what's happening. Zillow is now starting to do that, right? Like, we'll write an offer on your house. Pick your move-out date, right? So they're trying to remove pain points of you know, from selling your home. And so I think as companies, you're going to see a lot of the little companies, I think, fall out, and you're going to see medium companies having to jump into bigger companies or find ways to bring massive value to the sellers that are just removing all the pain points. Don't have to fix your home. We'll pay for it to get fixed. Don't have to store your furniture. We'll store it for you. Don't want to move until you find another place. We'll front you the proceeds of the equity that's in your home so you can go buy another place. We'll cover the mortgage. Like, it's going to get to that type of environment where you're either going to adapt or you're just going to, you know, die.
Adapt or die. That's
Adapt
wow.
die.
That's crazy to think like that's what it's going to come to.
That's what it's coming to. And that's happening right now. It's happening like in Arizona and Florida and a lot of the lower level priced areas with Zillow, Open Door, and some of these other companies that are out there. That's happening like right now. They're testing it in low risk, low stakes type of price points, right? That 200, 300, 100,000, 100,000 price points. You know, do I see that happening in 1 million, 2 million, 3 million? I don't know.
Wow. Well, I know I and everyone else that watches and listens and sees your company can't wait to see you keep thriving and keep killing it and changing your strategies.
Oh yeah. So, you know, I think that's, you know, you got to keep innovating. That's key. So for sure.
Innovating is key. That should be on a plaque. That should be on one of these plaques. Right? Oh wait, is it? No.
It's over on the other wall.
Oh, there we go. That's a good way to end the episode.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us on this episode of the 805 Live podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, ring that bell, and follow us on Instagram and share us on Facebook. See you guys.
See ya.